Propulsion Lab at DevNexus 2024. I have a very special guest, a longtime friend that I didn't see for years, Bruno Borges. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Ex-Brazilian, as American, now Canadian, all of those stuff together, working on Java in Microsoft.
Yeah.
Couple of years ago was a very exciting combination of words. I guess now it's much more mainstream, right? Not surprising as it used to be.
Not surprising at all. Yeah.
Right. And so Bruno, what are you doing in Microsoft with Java?
So at Microsoft, I work as a product manager for Java at Microsoft for Azure-related services for our Microsoft Build of OpenJDK, and also we do some migration tools. We do AI libraries for Java developers. There's a library called Semantic Kernel that our team does. And just helping other teams at Microsoft, making sure that the tools and services are great for Java developers.
This is excellent, tools and services. So when we think about tools for developers in Microsoft, stuff like VS Code comes to mind.
Yeah.
And I guess GitHub and GitHub Copilot right now, that's all like available for Java developers as well.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have been working on is GitHub Copilot for VS Code for a while. The GitHub team does a great development of the backend of Copilot and also the extension for VS Code. Now the Visual Studio Code team does a lot of integrations of Copilot so that other extensions can also leverage Copilot. There is a new feature in VS Code for GitHub Copilot Chat where you can actually develop your own Copilot extensions. And the same capability of GitHub Copilot Chat exists now in IntelliJ. We just announced at Microsoft JDConf recently. So
this is okay. So there is a lot of going on. So there is Copilot, there is Copilot Chat,
and then there's Copilot Chat extensions.
And then there is Copilot Chat extensions, and then there is AI assistant in JetBrains that uses Copilot.
So I don't know. Well, IntelliJ has their own AI now. They're offering,
and it's not
but
Copilot.
GitHub has an extension, GitHub Copilot extension for IntelliJ, for JetBrains.
So you can use it as a plugin. If it works well for you and you kind of specially tried it in VS Code and you liked it, kind of can take this extension instead of whatever built-in.
It's an option. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The nice thing about the GitHub Copilot extension for IntelliJ is that if you're a GitHub Enterprise customer or if you're a GitHub customer and you have access to GitHub Copilot, you'll be able to access Copilot on VS Code, on IntelliJ, or anywhere with the same subscription, right, with the same service.
I wonder, so this is for IDE. But I guess it's also a thing that Copilot can work in GitHub, right? In a source repository. What are the integrations that we can use there to maximize our productivity?
So I think, right now the Copilot, GitHub Copilot is accessible through Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code inside GitHub. You know when you go to GitHub and you press period on a repo?
Yes, that's exactly
that opens Visual Studio Code in the browser, right? There, I think you can access GitHub Copilot as well. So that's where, because the value of GitHub Copilot for developers is when you have the code.
Right.
If you don't have the code, just go to ChatGPT. Just go to a prompt that you ask anything and it gives you something back, right?
But I wonder, how about, for example, code reviews, right? So code review, I can do. So I can do a code review in GitHub, and this is where insights from like code-oriented LLMs can be really, really useful.
So I don't think we have the feature yet. I don't think GitHub has a feature yet for AI-assisted pull request review. But I believe, I don't know, honestly, I don't work on the GitHub team. GitHub is its own thing at Microsoft, right? And they have their own product roadmap, they have their own development. What our team tries to do is leverage that, so we can also build other extensions that leverage Copilot to do other things.
It makes sense.
So what our team is focused on now is an extension of GitHub Copilot extension that uses Copilot in the backend to help developers migrate code.
Right.
But that migration, we've been working with the Visual Studio Code team to build what we call agents. So GitHub Copilot extension allows developers to build extensions that leverage Copilot through these agents or AI assistant agents. So imagine you're on Visual Studio Code and you type Azure, and that acts as an agent that will help you do, let's say, an Azure deployment. So we're going to use AI to scan the code, scan the common files, and then AI will figure out what is the best way to deploy that application.
So you mentioned migrations to, and then Azure, I guess migrations to Azure, migrations to cloud. So what is this about? What is this service and how it helps?
Oh, it's not, well, right now it's not a thing. We're still working on it. There is a CLI that we allow developers to download. The CLI will do an assessment, a code assessment, and then based on rules, it will say, hey, your code is okay for cloud deployment, or your code has a few things. Maybe there's a Windows path that, if you're not deploying the cloud, you want to make sure it's OS agnostic, but there's a hard-coded path in the code. Or there's a hard-coded password in the code. You don't want that. You want to use secrets. You want to use managed identity and things like that. So our tool will scan those patterns and provide recommendations on what to do to those patterns.
I would also love to see how some services that I used in my on-prem development is being suggested to be replaced with cloud services. Right, for example, I wrote code and then I have secrets in HashiCorp Vault.
Okay.
But then I'm going to deploy it in Azure, and I expect that Azure has a secret service which is different.
Yeah.
So I would love to see it. Hey, by the way, you can stop using Vault because you will have it out of the box once you are on the cloud, and this is an easy migration to it.
So those are cool things that we have been working on. It's not my team exactly, but the developer division at Microsoft has lots of teams thinking about, how do you leverage AI so that we can achieve whatever the developer wants. If the developer wants to, let's say, I want containerize my application, right? There are tools that do that today, but sometimes the way the application, let's say it's a Maven application, it's a Gradle application, the way that the build script works, the artifact that is produced out of that, maybe there is a Docker file already. So sometimes some of those static tools will not work well, but using AI, we can have an understanding of the project and then generate the proper artifacts for a cloud deployment. And then not only that, back to the code assessment, let's say the application is using, actually already deployed on our friends at Amazon, and the customer is actually moving to Azure. We want to do a code assessment that says, hey, this code here is using S3 storage API. We actually want to use the Azure storage API.
Yeah,
so you're going to use AI to help you with that conversion.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of what I meant. Okay, it's good to hear that it's in the works. One more question I wanted to ask you, and that's something that I think all of us see in a recent month, is the kind of a movement out of cloud, if you wish. There are some influencers that mentioned how much money they saved.
DHH.
To name one, how much money they saved when they actually moved out of cloud. I call bullshit on that, just because this is how much money we saved. It's just a half of the equation, because there is another one. This is how much money we now spend on other stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hear your opinion on that as well.
So my opinion on that is the customer should think of what is the best for them. The period, right? I mean, for DHH, the best solution in their case was move off cloud. Fair. I know Dropbox did something as well, something like that as well. I know Netflix doesn't use cloud for everything. People think that everything in Netflix is in the cloud, when in reality, just a fraction of Netflix is in the cloud. So it goes to show that cloud is not a solution for everything, and that is actually why, at least on Microsoft, but I'm sure other cloud providers have similar offerings. We also provide cloud solutions that today we offer in the cloud, but also on-prem. So you have hybrid cloud, private cloud, whatever. Azure has something called Azure Arc, that you have the hybrid solution, and that we have Azure Stack, which is the private cloud. So you have the same experience of an Azure service, but on an infrastructure that you manage. So in the case of DHH, I mean, he has the expertise, he has the team, he has the time and the money to perhaps, I don't know, rewrite everything or re-implement and maintain everything by themselves.
Yep.
Totally fair. It's a fair game. If they believe that they're saving with that, good for them. If other customers don't have the capacity or they don't have the time because they are not in the business of managing and maintaining infrastructure,
right.
But let's say for whatever reason, security, compliance, I don't know, availability of cloud data centers in the region, maybe the private or hybrid solution is the only way for that customer to leverage the value of cloud services. And regarding cost, I will always say the cost is negotiable. I mean, you go to any cloud provider, price is negotiable. If DHH didn't get a good deal of a cloud provider because he didn't negotiate well, you know, I don't know. Did he offer a 5-year contract to get a 50% discount? You know, I mean, you got to work on that side.
Yeah, no, this is interesting, but yeah, no, I like the idea that you can get actually, if you have the same interfaces and you have the same tools in cloud and on-prem, you can find the right balance.
Yeah.
You can experiment. You can see what will be the costs of running it on your metal comparing to the cloud. Maybe some parts require elasticity. It makes sense to run in cloud instead of having idle servers sitting on in your data centers. Maybe others don't require the cloud, and then you can build a hybrid solution. So yeah, I guess common sense, not running into extremes.
There's no A or B. It's always A plus B kind of thing. You know, you just got to figure out which letter is more important to you. You know, do I put 100% on A, 100% on B? I don't think so. I mean, a lot of customers. I mean, we've heard of stories that it's a 100% cloud-based company. Yeah, I don't know. I think there is a tiny little bit that is still on-prem there. They might say, but it's still.
But I mean, if you use the same interfaces and the same tools, it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. For the developer, doesn't matter.
It's just an adjustment of costs, really.
Exactly.
And availability as well, right?
Adjustment of cost, availability, adjustment of compliance, adjustment of security,
latency.
Latency. Yeah, I mean, all those elements are part of the equation, right? It's not just cost.
Yep. Well, I think today we learned, folks. Check out a couple of takeaways. The first, the AI, the Copilot.
Take advantage of GitHub Copilot.
Exactly.
Look at our migration tool, Azure Migrate, for application and code assessment. Look at
and eventually what I wanted to say is use the cloud APIs.
Yes.
So you will be more flexible in deciding whether you want to use the cloud or not.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that, Bruno, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. And we will see you right after this one with the next interview that we already have lined up. Thank you very much.